Hello and welcome, my wonderful sentients. You guys seem to really like my Anti-Bob Ross painting, so today we're going to do something similar. Not quite the same level of chaotic with the music. It was a piece of performance art for school. However, I will do a fun how-to on drawing on black canvas because it can be a little bit tricky. One of the number one problems is the colors always dry to a darker degree than you're expecting. I mean, for example, if you want to take what you saw in the last video with my bright, shiny chaos, then compare it to when it was completed, it actually ended up with a slight dulling out for this piece. As you can see, each of the colors still have obviously themselves in there, but it's a little bit less bright, but ended up for some really cool bleed through effects on the edges that ended up darker with darker paint. Excellent thing that is fun to do, but something that you do need to know how to plan for if you're not doing it for that effect in particular. Now, I thought today we would start off with bringing around a kind of something a little bit lighter, fluffier. Again, this is a kind of chaotic time, and being able to have something that's a little bit nice but still represents a little bit of that frantic energy. So today we are going to paint a crappy medieval cat, because all you need for that is to not look at a reference. And I will probably cut here to show you some crappy medieval cats. Crappy medieval cats have a long history when it comes to painting. So it's a perfect example of being able to draw something lighter underneath, especially since with the darker canvas we can kind of have one like coming out from under the bed or something like that. Now, I'm hoping my creepy medieval cat is not quite on the demon level of the accidentally ordered a hound from Satan instead of Santa. Again, I'll post that meme. Shown. Yes. Excellent. Today my intent is to have kind of just a basic canvas, run with that, and have this cute little cat of mild terror coming out from under the bed. So, first of all, let's get just a kind of basic flat wash for where we want the cat character. You can sketch on the canvas beforehand, that can help a lot. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Right now, because I am doing, again, this crappy medieval cat, I'm not going for realism, I'm going for what do I remember. Now, I haven't seen a real cat in months, so this could be problematic. The closest I think I've seen to a cat is the little simplified one from Nichijou, that's got just the little face, and I'm trying to draw it more realistic than that, so we'll see how this goes. When you're drawing on a black canvas, if you want something, I mean, obviously if it's in shadows, it's going to help to have the black canvas there, and just put undercolor on the highlights. But I'm going to do undercolor on the general area where I want the cat's face, because I want the medieval cat to just kind of pop. Now, the meme of the demon cat is kind of a funny one, because it's just, you gotta think of medieval painters not being able to properly have a photo of a cat, and some of them are just kind of monks sticking inside of monasteries, sticking inside of monasteries, kind of stuck where they are. If they have a cat, then it's probably moving around all the time. You don't get a cat to hold still unless it's sleeping, and even then, getting a realistic look on a cat can be problematic unless you've practiced a lot. It's actually one theory of why the Cheshire Cat, originally a Cheshire Lion, if you go by the pub that it is theorized to be based off of, then it's a picture of a lion where they tried to show the teeth especially well. And ended up just kind of forming this slight monstrosity. Now, I in particular enjoy the idea of the Cheshire Cat. It's just kind of grin, and no matter the circumstances, is it malevolent? Is it beneficial? Doesn't matter. It looks kind of creepy. It's kind of fun. That whole idea. It's kind of a cool concept. But even the Cheshire Cat, you could tracing it back to the old Cheshire lion themiology. You can see those types of medieval big cats as well, which are almost worse because at least cats, they can sometimes generally have the basic shape of a cat, whereas lions just, it's out the gate what it looks like. There are lions that look like horses in medieval paintings. So you never quite know what you're going to get if you're going for that look. All right. Let's have just those little ears. One little ear perking up from under the bed. Basic shape. Now remember, when you're doing a medieval cat, the point is not necessarily to make it look as awful and terrifying as possible. The point is to only draw from memory and see what you can do from memory. Some people will be better at this than others. Some people will be very much simplifying it down into the cartoon shape. Some will be trying to get it down and look like some of the terrifying ones that have like randomly human faces on a mostly cat body. Those are terrifying sometimes. It's terrifying to me that some people are trying to breed Maine Coon cats that look like that. So who knows? Maybe some of the medieval cats are not actually as incorrect as we think they are and are creeped out by. Maybe it was just an absolutely horrifying breed that was common at the time. Either way, that would require some research. And that would be really interesting to find out, yay or nay. Comment below if you know the history of cat breeds and whether there was an absolutely terrifying human-faced cat in the medieval ages into the early Renaissance when these quote-unquote medieval cats were being drawn. Granted, there are also a couple modern artists that draw quote-unquote medieval cats because the cats look unreal, a little bit terrifying, and uncanny valley up the wazoo. There's the one with the cat walking over the table. We'll look it up. And you can see clearly the doorknob in the background and the teapot and the tea set, but people often use it in the medieval meme community when you do, oh, forsooth, in the 15th century, spill thine tea, m'lady, type idea. Now I've got that backlit for the cat space, which again, I want front and center. I'm going to have the little paws and body drawn in, but less bright by not having it backlit with that main layer of light. Over that, I'm going to do the little bed sheet that the one ear is popping up in front of. I think I'm going to make it red because I feel like that'll look really interesting with the dark overtones and let me do a cool little fold right there with the darkness. So I'm going to do a slight lighter undertone with a lighter red and then put the whole thing together after that. And hopefully the cat's face will be a little bit more dry and ready to paint at that point. I want to use a lighter red or an orange. I really need to decide on the lighting with this. I think I'll use a little bit of both. We'll get the highlights in and then paint over that and see how it looks. When in doubt, try it out. Now I would like to emphasize that I am not a total professional. You're on this journey of learning with me. I know all the basics and have read many a book. However, I only started painting a few months ago. So when it comes to this stuff, I'm giving you the basics that I have learned that have been really helpful for this. But again, I am doing what frankly comes down to a meme when it comes to painting this. So, I don't know. I don't know if I'll keep that disclaimer in there. We'll see. Depends how this turns out, right? Let's see. Right there will be the bulge. We'll go back a little. Then bloop out again right there. Swear. Thank goodness that I kept the whiteboard there this time. I got a big nasty plop of red that didn't get on the wall. Thank goodness. No need to be hashtag sponsored by Dawn. Hashtag not sponsored. Hashtag cleaning up your brushes is useful. Hashtag could be sponsored at some future date. So let's get this all spread out here. That initial highlight. Let's try to dry out just a little bit. So whoop, paw. Use that. Move that in. So we've got the proper stroke. Remember, when you're painting, it's always useful to use your rule of thirds, where you've got your, essentially each third of the picture has its own focus. Also helps to do the 9 squares, where you have basically grid it out and are able to make sure that the intersections of those grid points are either the places where lines are going through or are where you are setting your focus. For example, if there were a grid space on this with the whoosh, 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 whoosh little grid, you have the grid centered kind of on the cat's ear, and over here where the whiskers slash just above where the rest of the body will probably be just kind of peeking out under the bed frame. All right. Looking good. Looking good. There it goes. Slight edge there. Fold right on the edge there. Just a little one. Already you're seeing kind of how the highlights are looking, which is always good to have. Ooh, it's going to be a pain in the butt to get this section right, but worth it if it comes out awesome. Now I'm going to do a little bit more on the bed before I start on the cat's face. Again, because if I can work on the bed, I can figure out the lighting a little bit better. And hopefully that'll mean that the fur comes out looking okay. point. That's the goal. Let's switch brushes. And start doing some swooshing on here. Just gonna switch out to the wider brush now, just so I can get strokes on a little thicker. How that ends up looking. Bloop, 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 bloop. I'm a mess. I'm a mess maker, making a mess. You know it. The fools don't care. Just doesn't care that much. Oh, mess maker, making a mess. Yeah, you've got that kind of highlight look going on there. Get it up to the cat's ear. There we go. There we go. Got a slight interruption. Had someone come on in. Somebody needed their D&D books. All right. Is that time of the week, after all. And while everyone is kind of quarantined, that doesn't mean they don't want to play, so D&D on Discord is a lovely thing. Other trucker. Gosh dang it. Dawn dishwashing liquid. Hashtag not sponsored. Hashtag the only reason I don't have a backdrop yet. We'll get there. I might just pin a blanket to it if this gets any more flicky. Because... Okay. I pretty much hold everyone slowly over to the edge so that there's a nice, mix this off, nice little swoosh there. All that's left to do is let's see how the middle goes. And then we'll let that dry before we put in any more details. And so move on to the kitty cat. And I dance, 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 and I dance, dance, dance. Meow. Wow. What is your internet cat of choice? Were you a There we go. Were you a pastry cat? Were you a lol cat? Were you a crow cat? Were you a warriors cat and ignored the internet in general because you had a whole book series to yourself? That was the kind of cat I was when I was doing that. What was your fandom phase when it comes to cats? Was your cat exposure mostly just Hermione Granger's honestly interesting cat, Crookshanks, who is, it's implied to be not a normal cat, but that cat-ish creature that lives really long? One of the saddest theories that I've ever heard, but that is also really cute, is that Crookshanks might have originally been the Potter's cat. That him jumping to Hermione might have been partially also because Harry was there. And she was tracking down Harry. Because familiar little Babu is familiar. How cute and adorable and also sad that the cat ended up in essentially the used pets shop down in Diagon Alley. There's a lot that goes on in the background of those books, which is part of why I enjoy the series. And while I don't read it as much as I did when I was younger, there are several series that helped shape my childhood. Harry Potter was one of them. Lord of the Rings was one of them, though not The Hobbit. I didn't read The Hobbit until well into high school. Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe was also one of those series. There was a point there where I was reading that twice a year. Because the entire series is only a short 7 books long. And when I say a short 7 books, I'm not saying that facetiously like someone reading Wheel of Time might, because Wheel of Time is a monster series that I have read all the way through once in my life and intend to at least twice more. But actually mean a short series of books because they are little pre-YA before YA existed. There were children's novels, of which both Harry Potter and the Chronicles of Narnia technically were, although Harry Potter is one of those more interesting ones since it did go from children's to YA, grows up with your readers, really solid series of stories. Similar to with the Percy Jackson series, really, really stunning set of stories. You know, I'm going to put one more level of purple in before I start on the cat details, because I feel like that needs to go right there and a little bit there, just at the edges. Just to get that depth of shadow interesting. Now, part of me is really tempted to shift from my medieval cat attempt and just straight up draw the Cheshire Cat, but I will be strong and I will continue with my original idea and goal. After all, we're already, 20 minutes in? 20 minutes in. So this currently, as a color, is acting as that lead-in section when you're shading for the area that is a little bit darker than the highlights, but a little bit lighter than the dark shadows. So since the curves of a blanket work on a radiant, that should help that feel a little bit more naturalistic to the blending itself. Again, after this, I will work on Dumao. It is actually interesting. They did do a study across several different countries that cats actually do have accents, which is why you get so many different versions for meow depending on your country, because it can be meow, meow, growl. Meow. Depending on where you are and depending on your cat's accent. You've even got the little ones that just go meow. So what accent does your cat have? Do you have a cat? I don't have a cat. I had one growing up. Don't have one right now. I am an animal person though, and probably will at least feed one at some point in the future. Whether I have one or not. Because you know how cats are. They kind of get adopted into the family eventually. Because they adopt you. So. Alright, that's a little bit better from what I was going for. So, let that dry off. And we will work on the kitty cat. Meow! Okay, this kitty cat time. Kitty cat time it is. So since I'm going to be doing some detail, but I'm also doing fur and the basic overall fluff layer, I am going to be using this brush, which both allows a flat and a slightly thinner application as needed. Again, as usual, if you wet your brush first, it's usually a little bit happier with you. So remember to wet your brush first. Let's do this medieval kitty cat. I'm going to make it a brown. Probably with little bits of yellow. Because it is a kitty cat. And I dance, 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 and I dance, dance, dance. Yeah. Can you tell that I like tabbies? Probably need to get me a real podium at some point. I think I shall call him Sir Yum Yums. The funny thing about cats, and the thing I always need to remember, is that kitty cats tend to have a very oh gosh, I barely draw a yawn and it just, yeah. Okay. One of the more interesting things about the Zong kitty cats is that they have a very, frankly, unique style for each of them. If you have a tabby, its little stripes on top will not be quite the same as the next tabby you see. It's a thing that tigers have as well. The stripes on the front of their face are actually part of how they individualize each other. So you can actually tell tigers apart, even if you are judging them by their stripes. In fact, judging them by their stripes is how you figure out who they are. But honestly, the part that worries me the most about this, partially because of other medieval paintings of kitty cats, and also partially because of my own past experience with sometimes drawing cats, is the eyeballs are the tricky part. You have to make them not quite human, but still predatory, because if you make them too wide on the face, then you've just got a problem, not a cat. Not that some cats aren't problems on their own, but what you can do with that. If you have a cat and it's a problem cat, you probably love them anyways, so. He's a very fluffy cat. Actually. Now let's do that little half open eyes as the cat goes meow. I do like cats with those cool gray eyes. Those are fun. But yellow's also good too, but yellow also is more likely to come out looking terrifying. So I'm going to go with a light blue for now. And then move on from there to see if that's okay. Right. Now that ended up a little bit more terrifying than I expected. Gosh dang. So let's put a little tiny mouth inside of the kitty. Because kitties, they're little with their tongues when they're yawning. Gosh dang. It's a good thing I washed my hands. Okay, this is gonna be a problem if I am not careful. Just keep yawning. Let's not do that. That all washed off. Let's a little bit of that little toothy tooth. Get in there. Stop. I feel like the mouth isn't wide enough for a yawn. Keep that open a little bit more with a little bit more red. Because cats can open their mouth terrifyingly large because they have that little round skull and then they have that big round jaw. Stop! Oh my gosh! For the love of yawn. Okay. Something looks wrong with this and I don't know what it is, but that's unfortunate because it's time to move on to the second section. No. Stop the yawning. This was a bad idea. It turned into a cat napping under a bed, and this is the problem. I'm trying to show you how to draw on a black background. I don't know how well this is working. Comment below, is this working? Is this helping? Can you even see this terrifying abomination that I am creating here? I should probably move it closer. There you go. That should be a little closer. Boop-de-doo. Okay. Feel like you can see that a little bit better. Looks awful, ugly, terrifying. I'm okay with this. Let's just keep going. Details to details. Let's draw this kitty cat's background and where the cute one is. The unfortunate part about this is I'm realizing that she probably needs a paw right over here if she's apparently napping or just about to nap. I'm going to do a light little round little paw there. Got a little bit lighter on the top of the paw, then on the edge of the toes, going back into a slightly darker by putting brown not over the white, but just kind of pulling it back. Can you still see me? No! Practically invisible down here. Can't see me, I'm incognito. That was awful. Never gonna do that again. Alright, these. Ooh, you backfired. That was not what I meant to do. That got way too much water and didn't take out nearly enough of the actual stuff dried off. There we go, that's a little bit better. It's wonderful and majestic creatures at times. Terrifying and strange at others. Ooh, gosh dang it! I need a real easel. Keep yawning, just looking at this cat. This was a mistake.